If you are buying a house anytime soon, there is one exact elevation measurement you need to demand before closing, unless you want your garage to turn into a swimming pool on a random Tuesday. I'm going to tell you exactly what that number is at the end of this video.
Hey guys, it's Gladys. Sorry, no more actual surveys. Ran dry. But do you even know why I use that yellow machine on the tripod? When I am out in the field doing a survey, people constantly cover their faces. I promise you, I am not taking pictures of you. You are good. I am not with the NSA. I am just collecting data to build a map because that yellow machine dictates exactly how water flows. If my numbers are off by just a fraction of an inch, a multi-million-dollar building gets built at the wrong elevation. The concrete pours the wrong way and the entire property floods every single time it rains. We are talking about millions of your tax and investor dollars destroyed by one bad math equation. And this math has to be 1,000,000,000% right. Let's engineer something. Let me give you some historical tea. Before modern technology, girlies like me and President George Washington would set up in the field using basic tools. Yes, GW was a land surveyor first. That's exactly how he made enough money to afford those wooden teeth. He was out there carrying a massive metal gunter chain to measure property lines. What a man. But he didn't do it solo like me, carrying the heavy equipment all by myself. So does that make me a man? But if you watched my thermal expansion video, you already know what happened to DW's measurements. The metal chain baked in the summer sun physically stretched and completely altered the distances. We needed a brilliant idea to fix it. In 1947, a Swedish physicist named Dr. Erik Bergstrand figured out how to use the speed of light to measure distances instead of physical metal, which is E = mc squared. Shout out to Mariah. A Swedish company called AGA built a prototype in 1951 and launched the first commercial model in 1953. By 1971, companies combined that light measuring technology with an angle reader and introduced the world's first official total station. Now, my machine shoots a laser beam, bounces back, and calculates the exact measurements. But what are those measurements actually based on? A lot of people see things like NY 83 or Arkansas 83 on a map and assume that's an elevation. It's not. Those are horizontal grid systems because the Earth is round and flat maps to store everything. Every single state basically created its own custom grid to keep things accurate. Meanwhile, your vertical elevation, your 0 point, is a completely different system called NAVD 88. You want to know what your 0 point is based on? One single tide gauge all the way up to Quebec, Canada. I know it's so random. Why is a house in Florida basing its flood elevation on a Canadian tide? Because the US and Canada had to team up. The old systems used dozens of tide stations, but because water isn't flat, the math was warping. We needed one single stable bedrock anchor for the entire continent. The crazy part is that even our vertical 0 is busted. The Earth's uneven gravitational pull means the ocean floor is literally tilted. Plus, historically, the US relied on an old 1929 system, but because the Earth shifts and the ocean baseline is physically swelling due to thermal expansion, like we literally just talked about, we had to upgrade the country's math in NAVD 88. But guess what? That system is already busted. It has a tilted vertical bias. It is off by a full meter in some places. Because physics demands accuracy, the government is literally right now in 2026 rolling out a massive update to replace both our horizontal and vertical systems with brand new ones. So when my total station shoots a point off your curve, I'm mathematically locking into an ever-revolving, highly chaotic geodetic map to give me the absolute truth. In civil engineering, especially down here in flat places like Florida, we don't have the luxury of gravity pulling water down massive hills. We have to strategically design and grade this slope. Think about it, like getting a custom dress tailored for your wedding. Don't just give the designer your general size and say good luck. They measure your exact waist, bust, hips down to the 1/4 inch so the fabric lays flawlessly. If they guess, you look like a box. The total station is my measure tape for the earth. I am using the information I get to strictly tailor the land. But of course, this is the construction industry, so developers love to cut corners. So many times developers will hire a $500 special surveyor just to save a buck, and then hand that absolute trash map to me, the civil engineer. They don't realize that most times I can't even use them. First of all, the utility lines are completely wrong. Second, the trees are never in the right location. Did that giant oak tree just get up and walk 15 feet to the left last night? No, the guy just eyeballed it from the AC of his Ford F-150 last night while eating a Publix sub. Because I've been messed over way too many times by these cheap surveys, we engineers literally automatically charge developers more money up front. We have to go back to the site ourselves to verify the locations, knowing our PE licenses are going to be monitored by the city over their trash surveys. I live to make something very clear. Even though I am hired by a developer, my job isn't to be their yes man. My job is to do what's right, what's legal to protect the public, even if it gets me fired. And honestly, that exact persistence, longevity, and solo grit I mentioned earlier is what is completely missing from these cheap $500 surveys. Real surveying is carrying that heavy equipment for hours in the sun and the cold, not getting lazy, and making sure you have every single detail, since developers are constantly cutting these corners. If you're buying a house, slow down and listen to me. Here's exactly what you need to look for. Check to make sure a real survey was done. And if you find one, cross your fingers that that house is at least 2 feet above the highest elevation of the street in front of your home. The county in South Florida only requires 1.5 feet above the lowest, which is fine, maybe. But if you live on a street close to a canal, the county requires the water to drain away from the canal. So if you live at the end of a cul-de-sac like me, you'll end up trapped in your house on a random Tuesday with water constantly sitting in your garage, running under your sports car, which I ain't got one, but just waiting hours for the city's pumps to force that water back into the canal. Protect yourself and demand the elevation.
Engineering side, what we could be doing instead of basic surveys is 3D laser scanning. This is where my guy in DC goes ham. Ooh, remember that one? I'm so old. Instead of just shooting one point at a time, we use a scanner that spins around and shoots millions of lasers a second to create a perfect 3D digital twin of the site. It is literally like taking a high-res MRI of the Earth. When we have this 3D scan reference to our GPS monuments, it makes it so easy for victors to point to a mistake in the field or for us to shut down a corrupt reviewer. We just pull up the software and say, oh, you mean this area? Per the 3D documents, it's at this exact elevation with the screenshots to prove it.
Having the perfect measurements is only half the battle. Once you measure the land, you still have to build a foundation that won't shift, crack, or wash away the second a hurricane, monsoon, or tsunami hits. And that is where the Sera standard comes in. But my lawyer's watching, so I'll leave it at that. When things are this important, like the house you may live in for the next 30 years and being able to insure it in 5 years, we can't just be your yes man. Let's engineer a better foundation. Like, comment, subscribe. Abonnez avec moi. And remember, you can't save the world if you're busted. Get excited.